Within 48 hours, Djokovic has become the most famous tennis player in the world, the most famous tennis player ever. Let's talk about this thing. Man, the tennis preacher, the prophet, the psychic, coming back at you again with another video. People, I know the Magic Man has been gone a long time, but I had to come back. Well, not just because the Australian Open is going to be happening in a couple of weeks, but because it's because of the whole Djokovic controversy. Man, wow. People, listen to me. Like the title says, people, Djokovic has already won. Djokovic has won, people. Now, I know they got the hearing coming this Monday to determine the Australian Open authorities are going to be determining if Djokovic can play in the Australian Open, enter the country, stay in the country, play in the Australian Open. But people, he's already won. And you may say, tennis prophet, what do you mean he's already won? This is controversy. This may not be helping Djokovic. People, yes, it is. Let me tell you why, people. I'm not going to get into the whole vaccination thing and all that. But people, listen here. Djokovic, within 24 hours, in the last 48 hours, has become the most famous tennis player of all time. People, listen, listen to me. Listen to me, people. Let me say that again. Djokovic has become the most famous tennis player of all time. He's not on tennis news. He's not just on sports news. He's not just on local political news. Djokovic's story is on international news, top news with any political story today. He has the Djokovic controversy has transcended tennis, sports. It's up there with the big political stuff. This sports figure has transcended into a top political story, okay? Now you say tennis prophet, okay, keep talking. People, listen here. One thing Djokovic fans, let me tell you where I'm coming from, people. People, about 2 years ago, a Djokovic fan took and commented. This is a Djokovic fan now, not a Federer fan, not a Nadal fan. A Djokovic fan said that, yeah, Djokovic, he's our GOAT. Okay, now I think the Djokovic fans now say he's the GOAT of everybody now. I think if I had to talk to that Djokovic fan again, but at that time, that Djokovic fan say Djokovic is our GOAT, but the only thing is Federer and Nadal. They say something like this. Djokovic can beat Federer and Nadal. He got a better head-to-head than Federer and Nadal. But the only thing is Federer and Nadal are more popular among tennis fans than Djokovic, which was true. And which could still be true as far as tennis fans. That Nadal and Federer tennis fans are bigger than Djokovic fan base. But people, listen. Forget tennis fan base. I'm talking about something bigger than that. People, let me get back to what I just said before, and I'm going to explain that. Djokovic right now is the most famous tennis player in the world, okay? And he became that through this controversy just within a 48-hour period. Now, people, about a few years ago, I made a couple of videos about something that bothered me about the whole tennis world and how tennis officials promoted tennis stars. For example, people, I'm a big sports fan, not just with tennis, but I like basketball, football. So I always like how the NBA, the National Basketball Association, how they promoted their stars, like Michael Jordan. People, everybody in the world know who Michael Jordan is. Even if you're a grandmother who doesn't like tennis, doesn't like basketball, doesn't like sports, you know Michael Jordan. People knew who Muhammad Ali was. Everybody in the world knew who LeBron James is. Everybody in the world knew who Kobe Bryant is. But people, listen here. If you took Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic picture, but see, now Djokovic is in a different level now though. If you say if last week we took Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic picture around the world, there will be some people that can be like, I don't know who a Federer is. I don't know who Nadal is. I don't know who Djokovic is. But they know who Michael Jordan is. So that always bothered me, that why we got these great players with 20 majors. All three got 20 majors. They considered to be the three greatest of all time. Yet outside of the tennis world, outside of the sports world, people don't know who they are. So that always bothered me. But people, Djokovic he's transcended that. Everybody in the world know who Djokovic is. People listen to this. My grandmother, who don't know anything about sports, she called me yesterday. I think she just wanted to talk. But listen, she said, she couldn't even pronounce his name. She said, who is that Djokovic guy or Djokovic or something? I'm not saying his name is Djokovic, grandmother. But she said, is he like, now listen to this, people. My grandmother didn't care about whether he was vaccinated or not. She wanted to know, is he like the greatest tennis player? Is he number one in the world? Is he like the best of all time? Because my grandmother didn't know who she said, is he better than McEnroe? Yeah, I said, yeah, he's better than McEnroe. Come on. My grandmother, she did know who John McEnroe. People outside of sports did know John McEnroe though. But so people get back to the point. The point of the video is say this, people. Djokovic, even if they determine Monday that Djokovic can't play in the Australian Open, I sort of feel, because most people think that the Australian Open authorities mishandled this. Not saying Djokovic is totally innocent with this too, but most governments, even the U.S. government, French government, because the French sports minister, they already said Djokovic can play in the French Open, and they criticizing the Australian Open government for mishandling this whole immigration visa scenario with Djokovic. But let me just get back to let me stick on the point here. Yeah, people, my grandmother, who didn't know anything about tennis, sports, didn't know any tennis player, even Federer and Nadal, she now knows who Djokovic is just because this story has become international. So, and people, let me say something here. There was I think a Djokovic fan said this too. They said there was one thing that always bothered Djokovic, is that he was never as popular, not just as popular as Federer and Nadal, but he was never as popular or well known as he think he should have been known. Think about it. People saying he's arguably the GOAT now, or is the GOAT. So yeah, people, Djokovic now, not only is most people consider him to be the GOAT, he's now the most famous tennis player on the planet. And people, that's the way it should be. Now, it shouldn't have to come through controversy. It shouldn't have to come through getting vaccinated or not getting vaccinated. The tennis world should have promoted tennis where Djokovic, Federer, and Nadal will be known by everybody in the world, the same way everybody knows who Michael Jordan is. And let me see if there anything else I want to say, man. Man, there was something else I wanted to say about this whole controversy, and I'm forgetting it now. But yeah, people, this is what I was going to say, people. There are only, now that Djokovic has entered that category where everybody know he is, even people that don't watch sports, don't watch tennis, don't care about sports, they know who Djokovic is now. But people, there are only 3 other players that's in that plateau. That's the Williams sisters, Serena and Venus Williams. If you took Serena and Venus, I remember when Serena and Venus, it was a few years. It was back when they became in their peak, when they was really, really famous. I mean, they're still famous. I remember people say like, hey man, who are those, they didn't even know Serena and Venus' name, but they knew there was 2 black girls that come from Compton that became famous. Okay, good enough. At least people knew who they were. What I don't like is when we got these superstars in tennis that we be raving and jumping up about, but outside of sports, nobody know who they are. Like I said, people know who Michael Jordan is. People know who Muhammad Ali is. People know Mike Tyson. You don't have to be a boxing fan to know who Mike Tyson is. So Djokovic is in that category. That's how I'm going to end the video. And I got to give one other person credit here. And I predicted this. I did a video about this. When Naomi Osaka won, I said she was going to become super famous outside of the tennis world. People, Naomi Osaka is in this category that Djokovic is in and that Serena Williams is in. People outside of sports know who Naomi Osaka is. Some people think she's a black, like one person say, who's that black Chinese girl? I say, no, she's actually Japanese. She's black Japanese. Okay, yeah. And they could, is her name Losaka or so? Yeah, her name is Osaka. So at least Naomi Osaka, she's in that transcending category with Serena Williams, Venus Williams, and that Djokovic is in now, okay? And now some people may argue that Sharapova is in there. Well, there may be some countries. I think Sharapova, I don't think she's quite in there. I think maybe if you go to some countries and show Sharapova's picture, see, here's the test here, people. If you want to know, you may say, well, Magic Man, what do you mean? What level of fame are you talking about? Here's the way to determine. Like I said, I call it the grandmama. Use the grandmama's test. Take it. Now, some people's grandmothers keep up with sports. If you got a grandmother who doesn't like sports, who don't know anything about sports, take the picture of whoever whatever sports player that's under the test, whatever sports player. If you want to see, let me get to it. If you want to see what sports player is really, really famous, take it to your grandmother who doesn't know anything about sports. If she know who that person is and she's never watched sports before, that means they are super, super famous. So I'm saying that's the category Djokovic is now. If you took Djokovic's picture to your grandmother and she probably does watch news, political news, and Djokovic is all over the international news and political news and social news, she gonna probably say, oh, I don't know anything about that guy, but isn't that the guy that was something about the vaccination? I think I saw him on ABC News or CBS News or NBC News or Fox News or whatever country you're in, whatever your news station is. Okay, people, so that's it, people. Djokovic has this controversy, even though it was through controversy, Djokovic has transcended to a super famous level now that everybody in the world, people who don't even care about tennis, they know who Novak Djokovic is, people. And that's great for him, and that's great for tennis. People, listen here. Tennis preacher, prophet, psychic, signing off. Have a good one.